Okay, see people's audio connecting. Cool. Thanks everyone for joining us. We're here today, a very exciting socially distanced webinar, but it's nice to be able to do this with someone. Instead, it's usually all done through Zoom. Yeah, you can see a couple of people's audio still connecting, so just give it a couple of minutes, and if anyone joins, we'll just let them in. Hope everyone's doing well. We're here in South Morton Street, so we both bravely went on public transport today, so yeah, not a bad experience either.
No, it was my first time out, I think in, it feels like 3 months, but I'm not even sure.
I know, it's crazy to think about how long we've all been holed up in our homes. So I hope everyone's safe and well. And yeah, so welcome to our webinar. I'm Amanda Fuller, the events manager at Lynn Design Club.
And I'm Rebekah. I'm the fashion stylist and style director.
And yeah, so we're coming to you from South Morton Street, where we've got a few units set up, which is very exciting. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about the new normal, Fashion Week, what happened, changes that are going to take place in the industry, going digital, how you can stand out in that. And this all kind of falls under our umbrella of the LDC Accelerator, which is our platform that we have created to provide brands themselves with useful information on how to grow and scale your business, how to do it successfully and sustainably. And yeah, very honoured to work with some incredible experts such as yourselves. So thank you so much for coming here and giving us your time. And if anyone has any questions, then please drop them in the chat box, and we will be answering everything throughout. Yeah. So do you want to quickly tell us a bit about your background, what you do, kind of clients you work with and everything?
So I've worked as a fashion stylist for over 15 years, but my very first job was in retail. So I think when I was like 15, I started working at a multi-brand fashion store and shoe stores, and then I worked at Port Renfrew, which is Canadian, but it's part of the Selfridges group. So I've always loved retail, and I thought maybe that was the direction that I was going to go. But when I moved to the UK, I got more involved in fashion styling. I did an internship at Vogue, and then my career just moved, just spiraled, spiraled upward from there.
Luckily.
And then I got really interested in brand building, because as a stylist, you're working with someone and you're creating an image. So it's like, what does that image say? And that image is such a big part of what your brand is, especially now, especially online, because we're seeing that. And so I started to move more into that direction as being a style director and consultant for a lot of different companies. And that's really where my work has grown. And then I did a lot of work with their fashion as their fashion curator, doing shows, talking about sustainability. And that's really the direction of where my work is moving towards.
Great, yeah, how exciting. And yeah, so obviously the pandemic has happened and it has completely shifted the entire fashion industry. And I think now we're kind of seeing with, retail reopening and kind of people starting to venture out a bit more. But what do you think, what kind of trends have you noticed that people are interested in, or like what kind of trends of businesses promoting as well?
There's so much happening right now, and one of the things that I was reading about was that people believe will happen is people have been staying online a half an hour more per day. People believe that once we all go back to work, we find a new normal, that habit will still continue. So we're shopping more online. We're buying for myself. I can tell you my experience. I'm buying my own vegetables online. I'm buying local. That I've grown in the UK. Before, I would just go pick them up, Tesco or somewhere. And now I'm really much more conscious of who am I supporting with my money, with the money that I have, I want to hang on to, but when I want to spend it, I want to know where it's going, what's happening to it. So I think that's one of the major trends for a lot of people is that they want to know what they're buying, what it is, who they're buying from. And I think that's going to continue going. I think there's people will still want to shop, and want to shop differently. Yeah, I think those are some of the biggest things. And one of the things that we're going to sort of talk about today, but I can start chatting about now, is how.
Sorry. I was just saying it's quite hard to hear you. I think you're far away.
Okay, maybe
I can move back slightly if you mind coming to it.
Sure.
Sorry, just socially distancing.
I feel like test 1, 2. Is that better?
Better? Hard to tell on.
Okay, I'll just chat, and if you guys have any problems hearing me, just let us know in the chat.
Okay, it's better.
Okay, so one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about is how do you make your brand stand out? That's one of the main points that we really wanted to talk today about. And it's an easy thing, and it's as easy as it is difficult to make your brand stand out. One of the main things that's really hard to figure out is who is your brand and who is your audience. They seem like super simple questions, but they're the biggest questions of your brand. Once you know what your design is, that's one thing. This is my design, this is my style. People can recognize what I do, they understand what I do. That's kind of the first step, because as designers, that's what matters first. And that gives us the reason to buy, because we love what you do. But then we want to know, what are your values? Who are you? And that's where we start to get lost, because sometimes it's not clear. So it's asking yourself some questions, where do you sit with other designers? What, and there's some of the basic questions that people often ask you. And it might be things like, if you were a car, what car would you be? If you were, coffee, where would you buy your coffee from? There's tons of little examples of questions like that seem really arbitrary. But once you actually put all those questions together, then you really have a clear vision of what is your brand and who is your brand. There's another exercise you can do, and it's, again, these are time consuming. You have to put a lot of work into them. There's an exercise you can do, and it's a week in the life of a brand, from morning till evening. And for any brand, it's a huge amount of work. And I've worked on that and done that for clients, and it's a lot of work. So you imagine, say your customer is female, so you sort of imagine who she is, where does she live, what does she do when she first gets up in the morning? Does she look at her phone? Does she make tea? Does she make coffee? Where does she buy it? Is it local? Is it organic? Is it just from her M&S? Every single detail you're sort of looking for. Does she use an electric toothbrush? Does she use a wooden toothbrush? So you're actually trying to sort of make up, and you might not know, so you might just sort of fill in some of the answers. Does she take the bus to work? Does she cycle? Does she go on a scooter? What does she do? Where is she working? Does she pack a lunch? Does she go and buy her lunch? Does she take an Uber to work? Does she shop while she's in the Uber? So you're asking yourself all of these questions to create the whole brand of this client. Because one of the things that we tend to say as designers is we say, my brand is for everyone. It's from the woman who's 25 to 99. And I'm like, is it really? Or is it for a type of woman, a particular style of woman who's between 25 and 99? And that's probably more what your customer is. She might be the gamut of that age, but she's a particular type of person. So you have to sort of zone in on who that person is. And then the other thing to think about is sometimes I find we have an idea of what we think our brand is, but then our customer is actually somebody different than what we actually think it is. And I think that's where, a stylist or style director can really help you out, because sometimes as a designer, it's so important to have tunnel vision as a designer. You need to be like this when you make your collection. And just think of your edit, your designs, your vision. So it's really hard to be in that tunnel vision and then to come out of it. And it's hard because a lot of designers, you're your designer, you're your own accountant, you're your own marketeer. You're doing every step of something. So at the beginning, it's really, really difficult. But the more you're able to at least understand all the different facets of your business, then the easier it becomes when you're hiring or you have someone else that you're working with. Sorry, I always get a bit lost when I'm thinking out loud. So which direction I'm going. But I know what I'm saying. That sometimes we think we know who our customer is. And then we start doing some more research and we find out our customer is different from who we thought they were. And yesterday, I watched lots of Instagram lives and lots of fashion talks. So I find even if I can take just one key point away from that talk, I've got a little nugget of gold. So one of the things that I did after I saw this talk, I posted it on my social media because I was really inspired by it. And then what was so interesting to me was it's quite a large brand is they messaged me back. They didn't just like or give me a heart or something. They actually messaged me and thanked me for being part of their talk and hoped that it was really inspiring for me. And I was like, I have replied. I was like, it was really inspiring. I read this, this, and this. So I actually gave them feedback. And then they messaged me again. And I was like, look at this. We're having a conversation. We're connecting. They are connecting with their possible customer because maybe I could become their customer because now I've learned something from them and I'm aligned with their brand. And so I think often people, social media, so that's the part that we actually forget is the social side, but it's a dialogue, it's communication. And it's very easy to ignore someone in the sense of social media that they've just left a like or something, but you can actually go back and actually comment to them, thank you very much, you can DM them and thank them. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but so that's what customer retention is. But it also means you can find out who they are. And it's long, it's the long haul, but if you're playing the long game, that's what it is. So it's really difficult to learn who that is. And I find the same that it's difficult for myself to learn and to understand who that person is and how we retain them as a customer, how we get them as a customer. But I think there's lots of ways like that. And you might find that your customers, or your engagement is on Facebook, so that's where your customer lives. But it's the more you can find out about them and get to know them.
Is there anything like now we're seeing such a massive shift, what everyone's referring to as the new normal, and people's shopping habits have changed massively. So a lot of focus obviously has been online, but now the retail's reopening and people have been stuck inside. So I think a lot of people are expecting a big rush of people to start shopping physically more now. But then will they be so used to shopping online that they don't feel the need to go to stores? I think there's all of this. What do you think those customers, what's like a new way to kind of like tap into that mindset?
I think there'll be both. I think there'll be people who want to go out because they want something that feels normal again. You know, I was watching the news and there was this one couple who had just moved into their new home and even though they could have ordered things online, they went out to go and buy some cushions and they just wanted that shopping experience. You know, I don't know if any of you probably saw the Selfridges movie ages ago. It was the idea of how shopping became social. It became something that we did together. Yeah. You go shopping with your friends. You go out to the stores with your friends. It's what you do Saturday afternoon. And then for a lot of young girls, that's a really easy thing to do. You know, you're still 12, 13, you're not off to pubs, you're not going somewhere. So it's a really accessible mindset to be in. And so then as adults, we have that. So it's finding actually different ways of doing things with friends. And there are a lot of the bigger sites where you can share looks with a friend, tapping into that. And again, so you're sharing, it becomes like a social aspect of it. But I think the main thing is really somebody understanding your brand values. Because we still want to know who we're buying from. Yeah.
And in terms of online, what are some kind of like merchandising tips and tricks that you could do to like really engage with the customer? Because you don't have long. When someone lands on your website, you've literally got like a couple of minutes, if not seconds, to really capture their attention and make them want to
click through.
Yeah, or even on Instagram. Just
I think those hero shots are so important. I meet a lot of designers who don't have a budget for photo shoots, and you lose out because this is image based. You know, regardless of whether it's your e-com shot that's on your site or it's the hero pictures that are going along. I think it's really important to know who your customer is. Don't just go out and decide, oh, I'm going to do a shoot because Rebekah said so. My first thing is actually learn who your customer is, know who you're shooting for, understand what your values are, your core values, and refer back to those core values every single time. And then when you're doing your shoots, think about what my core values are. How am I shooting? Does the model also reflect my core values? Does the environment reflect my core values? Does the way we're actually working as a team reflect my core values? And have those come through the imagery, because you want your customer to connect with you. And if you're really genuine and you really understand who and what you are as a brand, and your customer is aligned with those brands, you already have a genuine connection.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Sorry, so I just lost in thought there. Got someone else joining. Yes, so I feel like there is a lot of focus on this new normal. Microphones off, please. Yeah, so there's definitely a massive focus on this new normal, and it's everywhere. That's all anyone's talking about. It's like that buzzword, that, you know, the pandemic buzzword of fashion and life in general. And I think that's really in the back of everyone's minds. What are we going to see now? And that's kind of shapes the whole industry as a whole. So we've seen like Fashion Week adapting. Everything is now gender fluid and neutral and digital. And they're asking brands to produce less collections, which for independent brands has kind of always been the case, because you don't often have the financial support to be able to produce, or often the demand to be able to produce cruise collections. Like, who really needs a cruise collection? I mean, nice for you if you're going on cruises all the time. But yeah, what do you think in terms of like fashion industry and the change, and how this could be an opportunity for independent brands to really kind of make their stance?
I think it's actually a great opportunity for any of you, for independent brands. In a way, it's like your moment. But I'm going to keep going back to your core values and understanding what your brand is and that it looks like a brand. Can I take 6 key pieces from your collection, and does it look like a collection? Do they sit well together? Can I imagine them alongside other pieces in my wardrobe as a consumer? How can I wear them? Giving your consumer, advice on how to use something, and really, really clear and great copy about what your product is, and anything that they might need to know about it. The different levels of sustainability, where it's made, how it's made, fabrics, fabric care, every little bit of information. And you might even feel that it's too much information, but if it's too much, I don't have to read it. I don't have to click through and to read it. But if I want to really know about it, it's there. So that transparency is really important. I was talking to a designer the other day, and she was making bags, and she was actually talking about that it's her and her mom, they're making them, and I was really surprised, but it actually made me feel even more endeared to wanting one of her pieces because of how I knew it was made. And so I think people, again, if that's their edit, they will also feel the same way. But I love the idea of a new normal, and we can't pretend that something isn't going to be different. I think a lot of people do pretend that there's going to be something different, and that's why we want to go back out, go shopping to the high street, or off to Zara, John Lewis, or wherever it is that you're going. But I think for a lot of people who are going to be more careful with their money or how they spend, we're going to look around. We're going to sort of shop around. We're going to go to one site, go back to another, look for different designers, where we want to find a trusted brand, like LCD, that we know the designers that they support, who they are, what they stand for. And so you end up with repeat customers who really want that type of connection, who feel connected to the brand. So I think that's really the most important thing, is those human connections, because we are on a disconnect. No matter what, we're talking by Zoom, we're like social distancing. And we might even stay like that for a while. You know, I don't know if I want a stranger to hug me right now. And I kind of like having a bit of space in a weird way. So I think there's lots of sort of new normals that we'll find, but for designers who do have smaller edits or who make, you know, smaller collections per year, most people say that's the way forward, is having that really clear edit. But it really goes back to you knowing and understanding what your brand is, how the pieces that you have that work together. That if I bought one piece from you and I really like that, and I want to buy something else, does everything look too much the same? I actually can't buy something else because it's too similar. Or if you brought out something just in a different fabric or something that's slightly different about it, I still know it's you, and then I can add that piece to my wardrobe and get longevity out of it. And that's the really tricky part when you do have a smaller collection, how you make that edit and how you're looking at those pieces. Because no matter what you do around the brand, no matter how much the customer and you connect, it's design first. No matter how important sustainability is, or any level of sustainability, it will always be design-led the way that you shop.
Yeah, and I mean, like we always say, it's like you want a keepsake item, you want something that you're going to have forever, that you form an attachment to, and that in itself makes it more sustainable. Because if you have a lot of, or you have like 10 really good pieces that you really enjoy wearing, then you're not going to be buying like fluff just to like pad out your.
That's where I think styling is key for somebody to understand how much they can wear something. It always surprises me when I have a private client or a VIP client that they have a dress and they only can see wearing it one way. It absolutely shocks me because I could look at a garment and see like 10 different ways you could wear that in your wardrobe and the different styles you can create with that. And it's hard when you work in fashion, when you're on this side of the business, it's really hard to understand that your customer might not have a clue of the other possibilities of the way they can wear that. If they bought that t-shirt to wear with a pair of jeans, in their head, that's where it belongs. So it goes in my jeans drawer, my little t-shirt drawer. I can't imagine putting that t-shirt under a dress, or I can't imagine layering it under an organza jacket. So it's really giving your customer those ideas, and that's actually where your editorial work comes through. It's really playing with it, creating the dream of what your garment is. And then your e-com shots are really showing what the garment is and making sure that those are really clear so someone can really see what it is.
Yeah, definitely. And having a conversation with someone the other day, and they were like saying that it's hard to, if you have like more interesting pieces, it's hard to see what they are on the website. So like using video is a really important way to show someone how it moves. You don't know how it kind of like if someone walks in it, like that's so important because you want to know like if it's like iridescent, like how does the light capture, especially like for jewelry and things like that. I think that's also a really important way, and it like I think people like go back to that more. If you can like click through, then people will go back to the video more, like kind of cinches the deal, I feel like. And in terms of Fashion Week, everything kind of happened at once. I feel like we've been through a massive shift with the pandemic and the Black Lives Matter movement, and then it was Fashion Week, and Fashion Week came and went, and I don't think it really had much of an impact. What do you think kind of stood out to you?
We were discussing this a little bit earlier. We were sort of saying that we've seen a lot of fashion films, so we're used to seeing that. I think it's so great to do something. I think there's lots of ways of doing things. And I know some friends, some designers who are in Berlin, and they're doing some sort of their homespun fashion shows on Sunday, using their sisters, their friends, and everyone's doing something within social distancing. And there's something that I like actually about that because it's really fun and genuine. There was another designer who did something just before London Fashion Week, was Milan Breton, and he did this really interesting fashion show with avatars, and avatars who were made after particular models that were cast for the show. You know, they were the hair and makeup artist, and so it was really interesting. It's sort of figuring out how do we get to that next level of innovation. And so maybe in the future, we'll see things like that. But I also think we're going to go back to very small events and private events, which will make fashion again more intimate. We'll have those connections, you know, with editors and stylists and customers. You know, I've got some clients who are already looking at sort of art gallery forms of doing fashion shows or fashion events. So you'd almost be ticketed to come in at a certain time. You would get to meet the designer. You might have either models or mannequins. And so it's like you're coming to a private event. And so I think, again, everything just is going to come back to that personal connection. We want to know who we're buying from, why we're buying, and a different way of looking at something.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I think there's also been like a really big push, not just from like the fashion industry, but like in general, to be supporting independence right now. So I think it'll be really interesting to see kind of that, like where people want to go. And I think people will, like you say, you're thinking about where you buy your vegetables. I think people are definitely going to be thinking about where they're getting their clothes from, and like the person that makes that. And I think, especially like on your social media, we can always tell with our own social media that when there is a team member in the picture who's talking about something that is important to them, it always does so much better in engagement, because people like really connect with that story, and they know the people who are working behind all of this. It's not just a shop window or a store that you can come in and buy. Like there are people here.
That's a big key thing. And if it works for your brand, if it's part of your brand values, going back to that, let your consumer through your social media, your website, however you want to know who you are. Talk about your brand, talk about your brand values, talk about what's important to you. Connect, make those real connections with people. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard to sit there and be in front of the camera. Some designers are great about it. They're like the showman. But a lot of designers would like to be in the background. But if you can just sort of imagine that you're telling a friend what's really important about something that you've made, I think people will really connect with that. And that's what's great with LDC, doing so many online videos and online talks and lots of exciting things that are coming up in the future. And it's just somebody who wants to know you. And I think sometimes that's really hard, because sometimes you feel that the clothes should speak for themselves. And on one hand, the clothes, they do speak for themselves. But we want a little bit more now. We really want to know who you are. And when the pop-up shops have worked so well, because the designer has been there, and it's made all the difference when you can connect with your customer, because they get to see you, they get a feel for you, they've met you and talked to you, so they really want to buy from you.
It's also really nice on a customer side, because I mean, like, I bought this ring. This is an Elsa Tiani ring, and she's been a brand of ours for ages, and it's so interesting. And I get asked about it all the time, and I love being like, oh, I know the designer, like she's really cool, she's really inspired by artists, and it's a talking point. And like that kind of word of mouth of like people talking about your product and like telling their friends about it is another great way to get customers and to get just like eyeballs on your page. Because you don't know, like maybe they won't be your customer, but they'll like follow you and it'll be some birthday, and then they'll buy something because they think it's perfect for that person. But I think like it's that like crucial, just like talking point. That's really, really important.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly important. I like one of the things that you just said, though, that you want to feel special. And I think everybody would like to feel special. You want to wear something and feel special. And you said something earlier about attachments to clothes. When my dad first met my mom, she was wearing a red jacket, and he was in like a library type club, and he said he saw her out the window wearing this red jacket. And many, many years later, I think the red jacket was a bit faded, and she put it, you know, on the kitchen table to give to charity. And my dad came in the room and he was like, "What's the jacket doing on the table?" And I was like, "Oh, Mom was going to give it to charity." And he promptly picked it up and put it back in the cupboard. And I was like, "Why did you do that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's staying, the jacket's staying." And I was like, huh. And then I realized that it's how, and I must have been like 7 at the time, but it made me really start to understand. So my mom told me that she was wearing the jacket when my father first saw her from a distance, and how clothing has a memory, how we attach something significant in our lives. And as a designer, I think that's what we want. We want someone to buy something and something happens to them. They get a job interview, or they get engaged, or they write a book and that's the dress for their book launch. We want something special to happen to that person when they wear the garment. And it doesn't matter if it's, you know, a wedding dress or a pair of jeans. We want something nice to happen to that person. And that comes from a really, really good and really sincere place. So that's the whole thing, is we have these stories, and then it's sort of creating the stories and just telling them. That's ultimately what we are, you know, designers, but storytellers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think that's such a lovely story about your dad. Yeah. It just goes to show, like, I think, because the way that we clothe ourselves, the way that we shop, like, it's a form of like yourself, like you're expressing yourself through your clothing. And that's why, like, the fashion industry as a whole is like so targeted around like your confidence, like the way that you can just like throw on like your power boots and be like, today I'm gonna crush it, like you were saying earlier about like feeling down and wearing something with a pop of color and instantly like boosting your mood. I think it's those things that like really like make people feel attached to their clothes.
Well, it's amazing. I was reading something the other day that I was writing about it taking 7 seconds for someone to judge you.
Yes.
And the whole thing is, we feel really bad, you know, that we judge someone. We feel like, oh, I'm not supposed to judge someone. But the whole thing that I always think about, that if you meet someone and you like them, it's okay that you judge them. So the whole thing is, you have to kind of trust that, because we probably meet more people that we like than that we don't like, or that we don't connect with, they're not part of our tribe. And that's going to be okay, because the whole thing is, we're not designing, we're not doing something for everyone, we're doing something kind of for our tribe, for our niche. And that's what we want to connect with. But it's interesting how quick we are to judge, that there's so much going on in our head, in our, you know, subconsciousness, that we can make these decisions really quickly, whether we trust somebody or whether we don't. And then it's really, how do you do that? What do your garments say about you? And that becomes really, really powerful, because I think it's also like 80% we take, even though I hope you guys are all listening to us, because that's only supposed to be 20% of what we're doing, and 80% is visual clues, which is enormous. It's just huge. It shows you what visual creatures we really are. And then that goes back again to your imagery. Is your imagery strong? Is it saying what you want it to say? Does the model represent you? Does the movement, every aspect of that shot? And it's easy to sort of fall in love with your shots because you had a great day, but it's really, you know, does the shot have the longevity that you need it for? Did you get enough things out of the shoot day? I read an article, and I think it was, I forget which magazine it was. It was either Elle or something. Ages back, they did a cover with Rihanna, and they only had her for like less than an afternoon, just only a few hours. And they wanted to get, you know, at least 3 months worth of social media from it. You know, so there would be the photo shoot, and within the photo shoot, there was images that they were taking, little videos that they were taking, so lots and lots of content. So the whole thing is, when you do a shoot also, think about what you can get from it and what it is that you really need and want to accomplish on the day. Because I think there's so much, but sometimes you don't always break it down really clearly. So sometimes as a designer, you don't get what you need, or you're trying to actually get too much, so none of it's quite at the level that you need. And then it's better to edit it down and go, what's the most important?
And I think, especially for like small brands, when it's just yourself, or a small team of people, it's really hard to kind of take a step back and see it not as the brand owner. Do you have kind of any advice of like putting on a customer hat and thinking, this is like, what will a customer think when they look at this image?
I think it's a really hard thing as a designer to do, to sort of step back from your collection. It's your baby, it's your first love. I have a lot of empathy for working with designers, and it's sort of when we do shows or lookbooks and sort of going, what story do we want to tell? So often when we work with a designer, we put everything up on a rail, and we re-merchandise it as many times as possible. There might only be 4 ways of merchandising it, or there might be like 15, and some of them might be really, really weak, but there still might be 15. And then we sort of edit it down to what are the best ones, and then it goes back to what are our brand values and what story do I want to tell. And then that helps us sort of know the way we can show the garments, because it's what story are we telling. But also sometimes before you get to that point, it's really good to work with somebody who's close to you, but who has a different opinion. I always tell my clients, I'm so willing to be fired. I'm so willing to be fired, because I'm going to tell you what I think, and you brought me in to tell you what I think. And sometimes that's really hard. And to have another person's opinion, because maybe you design a collection and this is the way you see it, this is the girl you see it on. And I'm like, well, you can also see it on this person too. You can open up your market. You can find out other ways that you can explore what you're doing, or you can go, wow, actually this is great. I love this skirt, but actually somebody can't really walk in it. We need to slit up the side. We need to do something. So sometimes it's good to work with someone before you get to your final point, while you're still like in your drawing stage or even your drawing, your illustration stage, just to work with someone to get those ideas in and to understand what you're selling. I have one friend and she does lots of dresses and things, and then once she started really looking at what were her key items that were selling, and she realized it was her trousers. And she's not a trouser girl at all, but her trousers were just selling really, really well. So now it's actually something she focuses more on to make sure that she's got quite a few pairs in her collection each year, so that they sell, because it was never her intention, not even her goal. But it works, and I actually have several of her trousers because I thought they were so great. And so that's the other surprises that we can have, to sort of look at what are people buying from us? Why are they buying those things?
Yeah, I think that's quite an interesting point that you make there. And it just reminds me of when I think Netflix did a series on the CFDA Awards, when they were giving the prizes to the new designer. And there was one woman who was in the running for it, and she was like, trench coats are my signature piece. And she was like, everything she wanted to do was like about the trench coats, and she had like so many other pieces in her collection, but she was convinced that like she wanted trench coats to be her thing. And I remember Anna Wintour was like, stop worrying about the trench, like having a signature, like the signature comes after. Like get your brand there and like make sure everything is perfect, and then you can see what your signature is. You don't need one. It doesn't have to be your like selling point, but you know, that's like,
yeah, because sometimes your signature isn't your customer's signature.
Yeah,
it's a really, really strange thing, and it's sort of learning to sometimes let go of something too, to go, wow, actually this is what I really love the most, and for some reason it's not what sells the most. Maybe it's also something that stylists borrow the most, or celebrities borrow the most, because it creates editorial. And then it's totally fine to have pieces that are just for press, that you know will get you press, and then that you can use on your site, that helps give you shout out. So it's important to also understand that part of your collection too, and what that is, that it might not sell. But saying that, years ago, I had a friend who made these amazing corsets, and she never thought they would sell, and they became like her number one thing. And again, so it's always sometimes by experience, by doing a few collections and really starting to look at what is selling the most, what are people clicking on. Most people say, again, it's a 20-80 rule, that 20% of your collection is what sells, and the other 80 is just there. And then it means, and that's actually why the bigger brands now are looking at doing a smaller collection. You might not find you need a smaller collection because your sell-through of those pieces is going really well, or even. And so it's really understanding that part too, to really looking at your business from all aspects of it, from the visual to right down the chain.
Yeah, great. And just conscious of time, if anyone has any questions, definitely pop them in now. We've got about 5 more minutes left. But I think we've talked a lot about kind of like your website and like social media. Are there any kind of new platforms that I think, because I feel like everything has happened on Instagram. Lots of people are doing lives, like it's so much, and I think people have kind of had that, and they're kind of moving away from it slightly. People, their attention
Instagram is still growing. Some people now, I used to look for news on Twitter, which I still do, but now people are saying that actually Instagram for news is gone higher. So the whole thing is, no one's going to be much everything. It's just not possible. So again, it's finding your edit, finding your strength, being good at what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's lots of social platforms, right to Pinterest. There's lots of different ways of looking at your business, but you have to find out what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
I've had lots of friends say, "Oh, Rebekah, try TikTok," and I'm like, "No, I can't handle another platform." So you have to figure out what works for you or where your customer will be. So somebody said, "Rebekah, you're not doing this, but actually with everything that you've got going for you, this is where it looks like this is actually where your customer is." But I'd have to be like, "Oh, okay, actually, let's try that then." So it doesn't. So I don't block myself either. And sometimes that's the other thing that happens. We're doing too much of something, and then we realize, okay, I need to let that one go and focus here. And that's the really hard part, is to really also to be able to edit yourself.
Yeah. I think so. Kind of in the early stages of being a brand, where should you kind of invest, like either team or like time, like where is the number one kind of focal point?
On whatever you're weakest at. Really understand what you're good at and what you're not good at. I think that's really, really important. It's like whenever I have assistants or other team members working with me, they are good at the things that I'm not good at. So again, I'm really willing to embrace, admit, share the things that I am not strong at. And I think we're so used to trying to be good at everything, we don't have to be. So if you're not good at business management, find somebody who is, ask any actually of the team at LDC who they can recommend, how they can help you. If you're not sure about your pricing, find someone who can help you with those things if you're not sure. That's the other thing that I think that's actually happened through social media and through this time of isolation. I know so many designers now who are working with different manufacturers, so many things that have happened, so much connectivity within the community, being able to share where you're sourcing different things from. So I think don't also be afraid to ask. Like when you need some help and you're not sure what it is you need, just ask. I think that's actually the number one thing.
Definitely, don't be afraid to ask for help. Yeah, we do have, if anyone is on the hunt for a consultant, we have a selection on the LDC website. We'll be happy to put you in touch with anyone. So yeah, always feel free to drop us an email at any time. And so just to kind of cap everything off in this conversation, what is your top tip for brands right now?
Wow, my top tip. Know your brand, know who you are. And again, it's not know how other people see you, because how we see ourselves is one thing, but how other people see us is something else. So you really need to sort of flip and look from the customer point of view. How are people interpreting what I do? What is it that I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's that clarity. Yeah. Be clear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much. That was so interesting. I really enjoyed that. So thank you for venturing outside today.
I know, my first tube ride in months, so it was great. And thank you guys all for joining us today. If you have any questions, just DM us, let us know if there's anything we can do, any way that we can help you. Mm-hmm. We're here to help you, so just ask.
Mm-hmm. And your social media handle for people to give you a follow.
Oh, so on Instagram, it's Rebekah, REBEKAH ROY_.
Perfect. Cool. Well, thank you everyone so much. We'll be doing another webinar next week with Selfridges, so definitely tune into that one as well. Yeah, thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Yeah, and self-hug to everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Bye.